Okay. I appreciate people get on. Jarrell, peace, peace. Okay. Let me open my notes. I had them open on my phone. I don't have my class notes open on my laptop here. Let's see what we have. All right, halftime. Wise you, Jarrell, peace, peace. When we're in the classroom and stuff like that, it's really about your questions, starting off with your questions and everything like that. So, if you have any questions, let me know, and then we could start. I always like to see where people are at, how they're developing, what they're doing, type of research, we're engaging in. Because, one of the things about the book list that makes it's not so much that you read all these books. It's that you know that the possibilities in the direction of the research in improving this knowledge of self, and then also making this knowledge of self viable, where it's actually useful, and we're in a time where science and sociology and social, restratifications, I could say, recategorizations, are all striving to scientifically do the unscientific. You know what I mean? So it's more necessary than ever that we be able to prove what we're dealing with, though, scientifically. Right? I'm saying that because I'm one of the books I'm reading now. I'm not going to mention it because I'm going to read the whole thing. And, in a book you're reading, we always say that we like to read things that are challenging to us. But you have to be honest with yourself. And sometimes you read books that you completely disagree with or see massive flaws in it. But you also want to see the stratagems and the concepts that they're trying to flip. So that's where I'm at with this particular book. One of these particular books I'm reading. I'm never reading one book at the same time. So it's never like I'm reading in hell. You know what I'm saying? Never make your reading hell where you're just reading one book. That was what you went through in school, had problems reading because you had to read that particular book and that only. No. If you have to get through those books, if you want to read those books, but you don't like them and you feel you need to read them, then that's when you start to change the amount. But in this particular book, which I'm going to really build with, it's going to be very useful to analyze this book in this classroom cipher, because after I read it, of course, but I kind of already could see through the author's idea that, and it's a scientific book from really a scientist, a mathematician, but their framework is still, dealing with opinion and anecdotal observation, which which does it wrong already. And that's very vague what the hell I just said. You know what I mean? But that's why I said that about categorization. You know what I mean? Be very careful. You know what I mean? We're in a time where categorization is no longer being used usefully, but gain or for ideas. You know what I mean? Like people want to get rid of the norms, but at the same time, the norms of, let's say, sexuality, the norms of what men are, what women are, for example. And this book, you know, is obviously about those issues. Um, Seeking to justify a complete freedom from those norms. There is no masculinity, there is no assigned femininity, and all these kind of things. And yet, um, if you cannot categorize, you cannot justify uncategorizing things if you're only going to recategorize. You know what I mean? And then use those same categorizations. You know, when it's convenient. You know, so for example, if someone says that, you know, the truth is that no one can be gender fluid if those definitions weren't in place, then what would they be? You know what I mean? So they either admit that they are in flux or they're trying to change something, you know, but the nature of the individual, right, is also based on their actual genetics, what they are, and all of that. So this is something that's being recategorized and stuff like that. And it's very interesting reading certain books like that, you know what I mean? But I'll give you a more fleshed out, a detailed build on that and how we can apply that, because this definitely comes into play when you build it on the black man being God. Because, you know, I was gonna say this, you know, I had, you know, like in the classroom, I've been faulted many times in the classroom. People have thrown fault at me over the years, and you know, as students, and you go around maybe the internet or, you know, Sunnis has a lot of haters. You know what I mean? People don't like, you know, what I do and stuff like that. And usually people that don't like what I do is because they don't know what I do. They look at it superficially. But oftentimes what happens is that in a lot of the years, and that many of you learned about the class that I was teaching and the details of it by watching clips of it. And oftentimes clips of my classroom are the worst things to see, because I use, as I, you might hear it, it sounds like a good concept. The idea of using the classroom as a way of presenting ideas and letting the student detail themselves. You know what I mean? And and that means that the classroom becomes a laboratory, right? A laboratory where the student can apply ideas that they're not sure are sound, and then the teacher would correct them or give them direction of what they could do better. Here's the problem with that: if you take that out of context, like pieces of class, you're going to see students, um, they're going to be chucking. You know, that's what I'm asking for. I'm asking for students to chuck and get their thoughts out and practice. You know, practice trying to articulate something. You know, so even whether I have a student build on what he knows, math and alphabet, we always expect it. You know, this idea that it's got to be right and exact and things like that. But it's okay that if it's wrong, you know what I mean? Like, for example, right? When I was getting knowledge of self, I was dealt with as harshly as anyone. And the better I was at something in dealing with this knowledge, the more difficult it became, the terrain that the student, that all of the teachers put me through, right? Because of that, it makes it seem like I can't make a mistake. But at the same, but what's really happening, right, is that the type of pedagogy, the type of style of teaching, when the gods are really tough, when it really works and was really working, and I'm saying really worked, it worked. This is what was done, and this is why we all have this today. It's not that you had to be right and exact at every turn. It's that It's that you were always going to be wrong to a certain extent. You were always going to be, you're always going to be challenged to something, to something else. You were always going to miss a detail. And that was the whole point. So if you got everything right, though, there was always a, well, what about this? And then you have to go home and do this. You know what I mean? And that kind of teaching is something that a lot of people aren't really built. They're not very well built for. It isn't that you say, oh, you should know this, you should have an understanding already, you should have memorized this or anything like that. It's the challenging of every step. You know what I mean? And often in my classroom, though, you'll hear students, and I will actually further students to continue to speak, even as they say something that might be technically wrong, because I want them to flesh out the error so that it can show them. If I tell them, wait, hold up, everything you're saying, what they're saying is going to be wrong. We might all see it. More experienced students might see it. But the student that is the student that is wrong or about to be wrong or in the middle of wrong, they don't get the whole scope of things if they don't see the entire era of what they're saying. So I always want to see people flesh things out. And sometimes I don't always correct. I guide, and that's what a teacher does. And I expect people to do those things. You know what I mean? And just a thought I had. There's a specific reason I'm bringing that thought up, though. But oftentimes, though, the people that you're supposedly responsible for to teach, they'll say things that's completely wrong and stuff, and they might not be something you advocate yourself, and that happens a lot. You know what I'm saying? And as the teachers, as those who you brothers go out there, your sisters go out there, you try to be poor righteous teachers, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. You know what I mean? But Halftime said, okay, here's one. What is the biggest change you see in yourself between how you first taught someone and now? Oh, getting the knowledge of self is not when I started to teach people things. It was pretty evident that I had the ability to teach people things. So that's one marker. And the ability to teach things made me immediately realize, I'm just saying in general, made me realize that a lot of the power in my own talents I'm trying to further, whether it's writing, and it was mainly writing, really. Let's just keep it real. Allowed me to articulate and really focus on what is the real jewel of what I'm trying to do. In other words, if I write something, what is the main reason that people would read it? And even as I could artistically scramble letters and mystify them and make them sound epic and all that fancy stuff. Skill is strength, right? Like I always say, right? The worth of the expression of the talents, whether it's whatever art it was in particular for me, it was writing it. When I first started to teach, I realized that the quality of my understanding, though, is going to be the center point. So even my desire is to get as creative as possible and be uniquely creative. But I will only get there if I have a unique understanding, though. You know what I mean? If I have a understanding and I can express the understanding that I truly have in these works. And that's something that came across when I realized I could teach them. Because then I realized that I could overtly, if I could teach others, I could overtly teach myself. Sometimes people teach themselves by they're just trying to learn things, read things and all that kind of stuff. But it becomes more of a very blatant process because I'm realizing that I can teach people things. So sometimes I'm learning things and then also testing myself. Well, how would I explain this to someone else? and in what way, and it becomes an actual exercise. So these are things that happen. Let's see. And of course, the biggest challenge was teaching at a law school in Mecca all these years, right? Because the great elders that taught me were still there. And I had to figure out what was the unique add-on that I could have, what was special that I could share. And that took some time though, you know what I mean? And I think that the biggest change though is realizing that that could be something, but it's something that's also doesn't really end, you know what I mean? It doesn't really end, right? And as long as I remained every time I've been successful teaching something, it's only forced me to try to be a greater student, So that's one of the main joys of teaching, you know what I mean? Because it to put it simple, it keeps you sharp. Smells good. I always forget your righteous name, and I wish you brothers would write your righteous name though the first time you comment though and stuff, because I want to respect everyone with their righteous name if they have one and stuff, but it's all good. But you said I've begun to look for concepts with the lessons. I looked up examples of concepts because I didn't really know what that meant fully. Still learning. Okay. Do you think these concepts apply, let's say, to today's degree in the 1 to 40? Okay, you're defining concepts like particular words and stuff like that. In the 1 to 14, tangible, strategy. Tangible is an interesting word. You know what I mean? I guess, right? Okay. I don't know. I like tangible on that degree. It makes sense. I think you'd have more success for getting some use out of it if you put some more detail in it. Not trying to find a million concepts, but just easy. Focus on one. You know what I mean? Detailing one is fine. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where you would have the situation where you'd have to throw 1,000 builds, you know what I mean? Out there and stuff, Strategy, pessimism. Pessimism. I'm assuming you're saying pessimism because you say he didn't care about the poor part. Is it, you know what I mean? I guess, right? That's a pretty interesting concept there. Right? Pessimism. He didn't care about the poor part. Some might see it more as like realistic. You know what I'm saying? Realistic. So they might not see it as pessimism, if that's what you're extracting, because the original man is God and owner of the planet Earth. And knowing every square inch of it, he chose the best part for himself. He didn't care about the poor part. Columbus was a half original man who was born in Italy in Southeast Europe. His full name was Christopher Columbus, and the place he discovered was North America. There's so many flaws in that, though, because technically he didn't really discover North America, though. Although it led to the discovery of, the European discovery of North America, right? Okay. Let's see. Strategy. Yeah, picking what you pick, obviously. Optimism. I don't know where you got optimism from that. You know, it's funny, in general, 120, I don't really get much optimism out of that. I just see a lot of mess ups. You know what I mean? Right? You know, we're being, keep it real, like, you know, it's a lot of screw ups, you know, historical hells and stuff. You know what I mean? You know, we make sense out of it all, and it does make sense, but it is a history of fumbles and horrors and things like that. As even if it was designed that way, you know, many things have to falter for it to take place. We could always say that these historical realities were expected faltering, but it's faltering nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? Nobody goes out and says, you know, let's just keep this cracker going. Let's keep this devil civilization going. You know what I mean? I think we deny the historical sincerity, the sincerity and decency of people throughout, you know, the centuries. But I would focus on a concept and see how you can expound on that one particular concept instead of just listing them. You know, right? And I'm sure you would. You know, as you go along. You know, because some of them contradict the others. You know, and once you explore one, you may not see the other one. You know, and that's really how you would get the understanding, right? Halftime said, peace, Gregory, peace. I see that halftime said, I see that issue in the cipher here. A person who gets it most recently tends to be quickest to want to correct the person stumbling. The veterans, did they say, let him finish his bill? Yeah, it's a common thing though, you know, because the more the more you teach, the more you realize, like, you know, it's easy. You know, he might say something wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's what it is. Wise you, that quest of solutions. Yes. Rome Fetty, incredible almighty law. That's interesting. Incredible. Some would say it might be pompous though, right? As you present it to the world though, right? Incredible. Right? Why that name? And you ask me, how is your mental and health king? I guess you mean like mental and physical health. Not like everybody. These times are very, very difficult. They're not easy. You know what I'm saying? For those that know me really personally, they know that this year has had way more change than just you know, COVID and lockdown. You know what I'm saying? A lot of other things in my life have made major changes though. You know what I mean? So it's been I would say difficult. You know what I mean? But that's not always a good word to describe things that I engage with, because I usually make things difficult. I usually engage in the most difficult things. You know what I'm saying? But certainly the surrounding reality, you know, taking care, two children from two different mothers, and dealing as their non-custodial parent, trying to see as much as I can, though, with all this situation like this. Being you know, being self-employed, in the trials, you know, writing and putting out my creative works, and you know, continuing to always try to find new streams of income. It doesn't get easier, and then some of the challenges, you know, but the key is though, I always make immediate gains available to me and evident. You know what I mean? So particular writing gains, you know, just like for example, I'm a writer, so I always make sure I write in my journal. That's like, you know, that's like taking your jump shots. You know what I mean? Practicing your jump shots in the gym, and I always write at least 25 pages in my journal. And now, you know, like now I write so many. I have to write so many other things. It becomes the minimum and the maximum because I don't have time to go beyond that. But I always make sure every week I write 25. You know, and I cannot remember the last time I failed that. Unless I'm injured, I'm always training, and made significant progress with that. probably the best in my martial arts career, actually. You know what I mean? So a lot of gains though. And you know, if you follow hip hop and stuff, you see um I made lots of gains breaching into other areas of media and the arts and culture. So that keeps the mental health strong, you know, and the physical health, you know, unless they get banged up, made a lot of gains, you know. Brothers was asking me, I actually, since we started this quarantine, I have gained at least 12 pounds, you know, and it's not a belly, so it's 12 pounds of the good stuff, you know what I mean? So but interesting name, incredible, you know. I keep it real with you. That is um that's the super egotistical name though. So like you know, you really gotta justify that, you know what I mean? All right. True self, yes, true self, peace, true self, yeah. Yeah, no, true self. That's a really great exercise, you know. And then now the the key is to like just, you know, you want to, like, let's say in your journal there's going to be a third day every month, you know what I mean? And you know, you're not always, you don't have to wait till the third day every month to build on the third degree in the 1 to 14, but you definitely will have the chance to, the opportunity to say, hey, it's the third day. uh so I would focus on one particular part, and then I would go to other things, you know what I mean? As I, you know, you could do it, you know, today into tomorrow into, you know, it doesn't have to be the third day. That's is what I mean. um but when you do that, also gives you fresh perspective of going into it another day, because you could look back and say, you know, I started this, but is it really a build or is it a justification? You know, that's my main thing. A main thing I stress a lot is I don't want you to justify the understanding. I want you to have understanding, right? And I always call understanding the revelation of purpose, right? So when you see my plus lesson and what I've been teaching all these years, I would say understanding is a revelation of purpose. And certainly true self, all of the other days, right? That we could build on, you know. But it could be any day, you know, you don't have to wait. You know, I wouldn't want you to forget your ideas. And you're like, oh shit, it's not the 12th yet. I can't get back into boringness. Nah, you write, it's your journal. You write it, you know, you continue and you focus on the ideas that are relevant to you at this moment, you know. And I always say that understanding is a revelation of purpose, because you've gone through taking this idea of true knowledge and used it, and you have come to its what? Well, what is it? What is it? What is it? Is that it's going to have a purpose, because that understanding is going to be the what? The foundation, really, of the next aspect, the culture you live, the power it exudes, and the equality that it brings, right? So, revelation means to reveal the revelation, a detailed revealing, a detailed revealing. You know what I mean? Not just, you know, and so when we deal with it like that, sometimes you have to explore these things and write them out. That was really the point of the journal. You know, in the back of my mind, I would like everyone to be a writer. You know what I mean? You know, but the idea is you wouldn't know if you were a writer if you didn't write. You know, like you don't really know your writing isn't something where like some form of some of the forms of athletics. You know, where you're like, you know what? I've learned the game, but there's no way that I could hit a ball that far that well. Um, you know, I don't have the eyesight to shoot it that far. I can't, you know what I mean? Like to really shoot it well. These are things you would realize though, having fun with the thing. But writing is not like that. You know, writing is the ability to express yourself and then have unique things to say, either artistically and or via understanding. Understanding is the core, and creativity, though, is what makes it an art form. You need both of those, but you wouldn't know unless you. These things have to be cultivated. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you'll learn later if you could ever cultivate the artistic part. That may not come from many people, but the understanding should, and it should make you a person of interest, regardless to whom or what. And one of the exercises that we have to know how to express our understanding in all formats, you know. So yes, yes, true stuff. Yeah, no, I definitely get where you're getting it though. You want to explore concepts. It's really great. You know what I mean? Mr. G1, peace, God. Akemi, I man, peace. True stuff. I haven't purchased my journal for this yet. However, I did start reading the Understanding Volume 1, Exercise Dealing with Concepts. Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. As this year winds down, I'm going to be reviewing those concepts. I'm going to go through another plus lesson as we reach the end of the year. Whether I'm at a law school or not, I might be at a law school next week. I don't know. I'm not sure. I want to be, but am I in my mind? Am I going because I want to go to the school, or is it because I'm going because I'm able to open it and say, listen, I really think it's great. Everyone come in. And I don't think people feel that comfortable. So that's why it feels more like for myself. Obviously I'm more swayed if there's individuals that definitely want to see me in the physical like that. That changes things, you know, but all right. Incredible. You said peace, love, and happiness to all spirits and session sponsored by sponsored by. Thank you for all the energy, time, peace, and peace. But you still got to tell us though. Sounds like you're leaving. Still got to tell us why you go by the name Incredible. You know what I mean? That's a lot of weight, man. Um, I like to think everything I do is incredible, but I don't always want to say it. I think it should be, you know, exclaims. Amen. All right, let's see. I'm gonna open up my bag of. You know what's interesting? I don't carry around my big folder of plus lessons that I've written. Um, my laptop is getting slow on my folders here. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm having a problem with this. All right, we'll open it later. That's interesting. All right. I did open it. It's just a little weird the way it opened. Yeah, when you do those concepts, um, you can definitely, when I gave examples in that plus lesson, they were like one word and then they go into there. But, the real extension of the assignment for you is like, let's say I had the example here, leadership, first degree, black man is God of the universe, thus leader of all. Obviously, the way I wrote that sounds real high Heil Hitler, you know what I mean? But because it sounds wrong like that, right? That's exactly why I'm pointing it out as an example. But in your journal, you would really write some detail on that. You know what I mean? What would be leadership as God of the universe? You know what I'm saying? Because that's something that has to be defined because people, they've got their own perceptions of some mastermind making, up in the sky, doing things, so it has to be formulated, it has to be detailed, and put into some kind of context of usefulness. You know what I mean? Okay. Credible, you said the light shine in you, not on you. So therefore everybody has a different shine when being formed in the womb. I'm assuming you might have meant womb there, which makes me incredible to all circumstances while moving on the circumference called Earth. All right. I want to pick this apart. Because I got to keep it real with you. Right, Incredible? I got to keep it real with you, right? When we make our name, though, we make something that we present into the world. And remember, it's a presentation of you. It's not a present. It's not just a presentation of a theme, of a concept that we have. You know what I mean? Like your name isn't, and this is a common thing. Your name is not a, and I'm saying this rhetorically, not you, Incredible, but for people to understand, your righteous name is not a billboard. Okay, it isn't a statement of everything you think ought to be known and that you will embody these you so that way your first teaching is done immediately. Like people say, what's your name? Black man is God, white man is the devil, Allah. You know what I'm saying? Like that would be, an extreme example of like a statement, like your name isn't really, your name isn't a statement of a concept. You know what I mean? So be wary of that. You know what I'm saying? Your name is a detailing of the nature of you and what you plan to exude. You know what I mean? What you plan to exude, and that is something that it takes a lot. It takes a lot of work. You know what I mean? Um, so think about that. You know what I mean? Think about that. Because when you see somebody, let's say in a real life situation, so peace. Yeah, my name is Incredible Almighty Allah. Like whoa, like damn. You know what I mean? And no, it's just that like the light you shine, the light I shine, everybody has a different shine, formed in the womb. So it makes me incredible to all circumstances while moving on the surface circumference called Earth, right? Um, what you just said also is that they are incredible a lot too. And that's the slight flaw. Every black man is really Allah. Every black woman is really the earth, but nobody is that. Nobody is you. Because you're here bringing a unique understanding that then unifies to be Allah. Because if you don't bring a unique understanding, like your reality, let's say if the individual reality of each true and living God is not bringing a unique reality, then what you have is though you have a fist that doesn't have this particular finger, and now it's not really Allah, it's something else. So every true and living God has to be completely unique because they have a unique position. If the position is not unique, then we have something that is incorrect. You know what I mean? And So it's an expression of what you are, what you intend to be, and what you exude. You know what I mean? So take note of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not telling you to scrap your name and like that. I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you to think about it. I would rather have you think about it than say, oh well, just rip off the incredible Almighty Allah poster that you have in your room or anything like that. But that's what it is. And the same thing would go, like for example, right? Under this username smells good, his righteous name is true self, right? If I remembered correctly. I hope I remembered correctly. Didn't screw that one up. Right? Yeah. So you say you're true self, Allah, right? Yeah, God is true self. He said, "Peace. What's your name? My name is True Self." Right? Then people aren't going to be seen as like it doesn't come across as like a billboard to them of what they ought to be or what everybody else has to be to explain it. They would get immediately that it's saying like, "Oh, okay, this guy, he's giving us that real, they're going to expect things out of him." Like, I don't want to meet a true self though, and he's a fake ass mother. You know what I mean? He's gonna, give you that realness though. He's gonna give you something sincere. He's gonna lack disingenuousness in the moves he makes. You know what I mean? And he's willing to be under that pressure to have to perform that way, right? So these names are also they're presentations of yourself. So you always have to make sure that the presentation though is not just a billboard. It's something to think about. But you also asked what you think you become, what you feel you create, what you imagine you create. Okay. There is in all the things I can only answer that personally. You know what I mean? Um, what you think you become, what you feel you create, what you imagine you create. I guess you talk about like the how things you create or the way the nature that you create actually exudes the nature of you, what you intend to be, how you will be, and so forth. Here's what's interesting in that everything that I wanted to be became because I put myself in the position to not just learn, but also create under that banner. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of the individual that I am is because I created. You know what I mean? My intention was to be a particular type of creator, and that certainly shapes the reality of what I am. You know what I'm saying? So I am as much a true living God, the original black man, as much as I am this particular writer, this particular martial artist, or whatever it is. Like these are the things that I actually am. You know what I mean? And they all play off of each other. You know what I'm saying? The creativity that I quest for as a martial artist expresses and gives me detail about the nature of myself. So when I think about who I am, the character of who I am, the way that I actually move martially is part of the character I am. The way that I write and the type of way that I use words and say words and things, these inform the nature of who I am. They give detail to what I have said Sunez will be. You know what I'm saying? So, they all impact. You know what I mean? They all definitely impact. You know? Right. Give me a moment here. I want to write some notes here. I don't know, man. This laptop, would have been great though. Is before I taught, I had turned this off and turned it on again. I don't know. It's just, but it should be okay until There's a little glitch that a restart would be perfect, but it's fine. It's really fine. Again, if there's any questions about any of these plus lessons, any of these things that you don't understand, just let me know. The things that I have said, and I got to make this knowledgeable, and the things that I have said in previous classes, feel free to ask again anytime. You know what I'm saying? I don't mind repeating anytime. You know what I'm saying? Anytime. So there's no problem with that. Well, True Sev is certainly seen, certainly seen. I see it. I didn't know it was a direct question. I thought it was more like a dance hall, exclamation. Infinite Mind. I probably can. I probably can. You know what I mean? If you're definitely gonna be in that why, you know what I'm saying? You know, um, this whole digital thing, Infinite Mind, makes me very comfortable. You know how many years I've gone, to the school and through hellish weather and all that kind of stuff. So it's a pain in the ass. But and this year, unlike any other year, I can't say that the lack of students in the classroom is is because of just the students' laziness, though. And I don't feel like everyone is welcome, like they feel comfortable to go into a classroom and learn. You know what I'm saying? And not because us particularly, but just because of this whole COVID thing. You know what I mean? I don't that and my thing was I didn't want to force people to get COVID, not get COVID, but force people to engage further in the maneuvering in this in the populace and shit, like that, And then now I'm just, it's very comfortable here. You know what I mean? Right? These are the first. These are classes I teach. I teach at home here. I can teach these classes some nice polo sweats. You know what I mean? I can't remember. I've never taught class in some sweatpants. You know what I mean? I don't even go outside with sweatpants. If I'm going outside with sweatpants, it's do kung fu. But yes. Yes, Quatis. Yeah, piece of class. Wow, I jumped in at the right time. Topic of naming yourself, oneself is particularly of interest. Sunez, your article, the God's mantra, went heavy into how one develops their name. Very. Oh, I'm glad that it was useful. I'm glad that it was useful. You know, I'm also gonna make like a very short book suggestions about capitalism, socialism, and things like that. I'm gonna prepare that little thing, Quatis. Um, because certainly capitalism, as we were talking about last week, capitalism certainly isn't. It really is not a system of warring goods, as it's presented. Though it's really about the holder, right, of a boulder, money folder. Now, you want a fresh style, they'll show you. But it's really the holder of the of capital. That's what capitalism is. It isn't uh all of that whole free market stuff doesn't exist, because the quest is to gather as much capital as you can and then revalue it to the populace. And that means you make a dam of it, like a water dam, but a capital dam, which means that your goal is to collect that capital. So you're not there. The market really isn't free. It never really is free, because that isn't the number one objective. You see, the number one, the number one. No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, no problem. The number one option, um, the number one option to solidify the continuation of a system working is to have everyone with competing goods and continue to compete goods. Because let's say, for example, hip hop, an entire billion-dollar industry is created by warring goods. So people think like, oh, look with hip hop, people sought to make something and things like that. But those always are expected, because people are all put into positions of survival. But what happens with it? It's like I don't know, it's crazy, because this is what I'm thinking of right now. It's kind of like Hungry Hippo, where that capital dam is going to come and take that hip hop as well, and takes it in as well. And it's all in that hippo. You know what I mean? So now that all of yous are 7, 8 years old, I can describe capitalism though using Hungry Hippo. So, but it really gives you a good visual. You know what I'm saying? So even as you're full, you're still trying to get things. You know what I mean? But yeah, Puerto Rican. By the way, Puerto Rican. That's how all the old American sociological text um, on Puerto Rico and analyzing the Puerto Rican that they just conquered and have to psychoanalyze. That's how they spelled it, though. You know what I mean? That's how I like to say it too. I like to, to keep fresh with the oppressor. You know what I mean? But Jarrell, you said in the beginning of the God's mantra, you said, and we forget that the self can get lost, forgotten, distracted, the devastation from interorientation. Where are we? Look at us. None of us were never not God. We just didn't have the knowledge of self. You know what I mean? So you always have to, make sure you don't go astray. You know what I mean? And technically, anytime that we are teaching the blind, deaf, and dumb, sounds messed up, but if we are teaching the blind, deaf, and dumb, so yeah, blind, deaf, and dumb person here, populace, I said populace, and we are here, the true and living gods, then that means not only are we speaking almost an entirely different language, but a certainly new idea. So we are trying to share a new idea that oftentimes can only be expressed in our new dialect language that we have learned under this knowledge of self, into a populace that does not have that language, that aka dialect in this case, and certainly not the idea. And technically that would be an interorientation as well. So, you know, the way oppression is, we're all confused about each other. So to learn from each other, though, we're engaging in a lot of interorientation. You know what I mean? But certainly, we can lose sight of who we are. right? That self can get lost. A lot of time, right? What I mean is this though, like when you get knowledge of self, just because, for example, you think that you're the true and living God because it said so, and you say, "Look, this is a fact," it doesn't mean that you don't think of a, um, the knowledge of self. It doesn't mean that you're not, that you don't say in your mind that black man is God. But at the same time, though, you may be waiting on things. So your actual daily life could have parts where you are waiting on a mystery or waiting for something to happen, or in some respects, actually forced to wait for something to happen. So then now, this teaching of empowerment might get distracted and blown off course because the most important things you're seeing are not under your immediate control, which happens, you know? And a lot of times you can get distracted into that devastation. You know what I'm saying? Right? So, like life is real, Joel. There's the hells that we go through, right? I hope that makes sense. Right? According to here, because we got the God true self, peace of the God, and smells good, your name is true self. We have two true selves in the building, you know what I mean, in the digital building. Right? Let me know if that was a good enough example, Jarrell. I could go deeper into that. You know what I'm saying? Infinite Mind, he said, you said something last week that was hilariously accurate. Socialism produced the most dictators, but capitalism supported the most dictators. Yeah, no, it's like a sick process and shit, right? You know what I mean? Even though my favorite dictator of all time, if you're gonna call him that, is Fidel. You know what I mean? What's funny? I don't see him as oppressive, but man, did he do his best to dictate? Right? Just saying, like people think dictators are like they're all evil and they kill everyone like that. No, a dictator is someone says like this is what we're gonna have, and then they spend, especially in Fidel's case, because he's so articulate and dynamic and really had a lot of genius and truth with him. Man, he spent most of the time dictating to everyone. Like he was literally dictating. Like he's the most dictating dictator ever. He's literally the dictating dictator. You know what I'm saying? Whereas other dictators are really just because they're killers and shit. You know what I'm saying? And they have, the power of the state to control, just but and there's no direction of humanity they want you to go in. They just want you to have, they just want to have your shit and control it. I really think that, for example, Fidel wanted to control everything and then educate you so obsessively that then you would willingly dictate yourselves the way he has dictated to you. You know what I mean? But it just didn't work out that way because, people want to be like Pitbull. America's greatest weapon for all their military strength, though, is really the lavishness of the possibility of selling out. Never fails. Never fails. You know what I mean? All right, knowledge of Allah. All right, peace of the God. Mr. G1, you said peace. I just sent you an email with my build on today's map. It was too much to add in the Peace Course chat. If you get a chance, share your thoughts with me. Okay, that sounds good. I'm definitely going to check that out. Okay, I see it here. I'll do an honors to it. Quatis, you said, how would hoarding capital and other comforts relate to having something to give to your offspring? Making sure that the next generation didn't have to start from scratch. Again, the problem, Quatis, though, is that you're trying to learn, you're analyzing what capitalism is based on the individual. And you're giving me microeconomics that is an adaptation of the storyline that is given about capitalism. Having things for your children, though, and you continue to mold them and develop them and keep them is not the thing. I'm talking about massive capital of entire countries. Okay. I'm talking about controlling the entire diamond supply of the world, where they make a useless mineral rock, right? Let's just call it a rock, just for, right? To control it so heavily that now it becomes nearly priceless. You know what I'm saying? When sold, right? And entire populations will be subjugated. So, like, for example, the blood diamonds will be when those poor people, those poor African people of said nations, go against it all and get their own diamonds and sell their own diamonds. But the original, all diamonds are blood diamonds. You know what I'm saying? All blood diamonds are blood diamonds, because the people that originally got them took them all, dammed them up, and then only give out a few. And so now it is worth everything. So this is what I'm talking about. When we look at how economies are based, though, people, people like Jeff Bezos and things like that, they don't have this because they work. I worked really hard, and I made this company, and everybody just bought into it and things like that. No, they had to actually control markets, do things that took over markets, though, and none of that goes with the rules that we are given as ordinary people, and especially oppressed people. So when you talk about capitalism, you cannot talk about the individual in capitalism, because it's a wonderful story, right? It's a beautiful story. I make said product is beautiful, and then we go from the ground up. And there are plenty of examples of people that do that. But how you have to look at capitalism as far as how communities live, right? Is it a viable option for entire communities to consistently live? Absolutely not, right? Absolutely not. The majority of people, black, brown, yellow, white, are all suffering, right? So when we talk about hoarding capital isn't just the things that we're not talking about your particular assets. I'm talking about major capital. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about major capital, right? Now, why do you think, if that's not the case, you have to think of it as America? Why is America spend the most money on military? And they don't go around out there killing everybody. It is the threat of being able to kill that protects all of their interest in the capital that they have secured, right? So that is the point, right? Hmm. Right. So that isn't the point of it, though. And of course, though, because of the individual that makes great stride, um, the individual that makes great strides in capital and really does work hard, it favors him to then use the system's devilishment to hoard even more capital. And then there you see the making of people as Jeff Bezos and others. You know what I mean? Right? Um, right. So, okay, Joel, I'm glad that you saw that. You said also wondering when teaching this knowledge how to not offend those 85 who might see it as blasphemous. Some people will literally kill at the thought of their bubble getting popped. Yeah, I don't go around popping bubbles. No, I'm just kidding. A lot of times it depends on the person. Sometimes you build and you give people a disclaimer like, hey, these are my thoughts and ideas. You know what I mean? Especially the older that they are, like you should already be getting a vibe of people, you know what I mean? Right? A vibe of people, you know what I mean? And get that concept, See, Quatis, just because the most a righteous system cannot be found out there doesn't mean that we ever accept the systems that we're in. The fact that other systems have tried to counter with their versions of what they think are righteous have failed or stumbled doesn't mean that this system, because it is very effective, as in continuing to stay afoot, is something that we laud and ought to respect. The truth is that American capitalism has not really had great capitalism as that theory that you had mentioned hasn't really been successful. The entire Great Depression, though, proved that Keynesian all the Keynesian economics and all those ideas were not really true. World War II and the New Deal proved that these free markets weren't really free, and that they had to actually invest in the people in a massively socialist act to keep this country going. Right? The New Deal is absolutely socialist in nature, which is basically controlling everything and then dispensing it in as much equality of distribution as possible, and even not with the intentions of even being fair to people, but because the actions of the populace altogether are the only thing that'll reignite this populace. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like the example I give of Christmas, and let me put everything full circle. When I talk about Christmas, the only way to save Christmas, it sounds like those things. How can we save Christmas? The only way to save Christmas and turn it away from Saturnalia, which was what was here when these pilgrim devils came, and they were savaging and killing each other, and they were basically doing the purge every December. And this is years and years of their ignorance, absolute ignorance of the reality of the Egyptian principles that they were seeing, you know what I mean? And bastardizations of traditions, indigenous traditions, afoot, galore, I should say, right? And the only way to actually save the populace was to do what they didn't really care about, truly. But they knew that's the only way, through the children. If you make this time of year, particularly for the children, started with giving them candy, right? Certain people still have those traditions, but they only get candy. Like a lot of Boricuas and stuff, the Puerto Ricans, elders especially, and other Latinos, they'll get like candy and that's it. I used to always laugh, y'all just get candy, right? Whereas the traditions, the stories of Santa Claus are embraced. Propaganda books like Charles Dickens, Christmas Carol, give a mentality to how spending will be. You see how it sparks the economy, give back into the economy. We have to give them something to actually give back, right? And because capitalism will always suffer because it doesn't have a flow. You see, it has a select flow. And that's where you see like communities that prosper. Like, let's say Hasidic communities and stuff, because their dollars are flowing through that neighborhood economy. That's not really how capitalism is designed for the entire United States of America. Absolutely not. It is not designed to flow. You know what I mean? So they have to make artificial points of flow. And those artificial points of flow are literally socialism. Artificial points of flow, educating people so that they actually know how to actually engage in the society and struggle in it. You know what I mean? And know their place. Anything higher, you have to pay for that education, right? Which is also contrary to anything like that, because it doesn't invest in the people, right? So even the greatest capital, that greatest asset of the society, is not even its greatest capital. So that's also another problem. You know what I mean? Yeah, so yes, supreme scientists, that's definitely the case, it's extremely fragile, you know what I mean? So we just think it's not, but like when they talk about corporate welfare, all these great systems, I have a business degree. The first thing they teach you in macroeconomics is that certain large businesses that are crucial to the American psyche are always going to be reinvested in. Like they'll never let McDonald's falter and things like that. You know what I mean? Things that become part of the populace. You know what I'm saying? Right. And that's why you see that's why you see like with Corona and stuff, you see like the contradictions. People think like, oh, look, it's a conspiracy. Corona doesn't exist. COVID doesn't exist because they're letting people celebrate Christmas and things like that. It's not. It's just that it wars with the standards that they have been milking. So it's they're in conflict. You know what I'm saying? They're in conflict. You know, I would say, yeah, dictator of dictatorship. He Kareem, peace God. Yes, Fidel definitely epitomized dictatorships. And I listen, he Kareem. I don't think I find a lot of righteousness whenever I research Fidel. I don't see him as a devil. I don't see him as he's doing devilishment. Um, and I think that he's a great model of study for what liberation can look like in this modern world, especially. Probably the greatest example. I think that when I say the dictatorship is that he had his own thoughts, and that's what was going to be dictated. And that's why he's a dictatorship. He was dictating shit. You know what I mean? I think he wanted the populace to come up with solutions. The youth, he supported the youth a lot to come up with solutions, but only to the problems that he was advocating. And the youth, because they were seeing other things, mainly Pitbull. You know what I'm saying, and the lavishness of Miami, which is just one long video, right? That was changing things. I tried this Miami though, but there's a lot of gods down in Miami, like Infinite Mind and my brother Thurston Howell, like changing the concept. I thought Miami always swallowed all goodness, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of Wolverines down there, you know what I'm saying? Fighting. But it is where music goes to die. But definitely Quatis, yeah. These systems are definitely not righteous, though. I think one of the best writers and thinkers about these systems, just off the head, I think Noam Chomsky makes a lot of great points. Very intuitive. There are others, though, but that's what came off the head. You know what I mean? Because I agree with a lot of his principles. Mainly the idea that the society that we should have is something that we would build to and test and study and always adjust to. And it would be based on our principles. And since we deal with supreme mathematics, that's what we deal with. You know what I mean? Jarrell, yeah, definitely read out people, do reconnaissance before implementing strategies. That's peace. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. G1, would you agree that capitalism is socialism for the rich? Yes and no. Yes and no. I would say, because socialism, the theory is that you're trying to keep the economy going, though, by distributing things in some kind of fairness and consistency. I don't think that capitalism even knows how to share with itself. It's the most, yeah, it's pretty vile. So I don't, Infinite Mind with his pessimistic view and I'm forgetting the word though. It's a perfect word though. Saying I always say socialism fails for the same reason that capitalism fails. People. I love when people blame systems for the inadequacies for their own behaviors. It's a straw man mystery gut concept. Somewhere along the lines, I might have become an anarchist, but he definitely was a 10%, meaning Fidel. I think so. I think because he had his own way of what he thought it was going to be. You know what I'm saying? Also, I think that Cuba didn't really devise a good way to absorb new ideas. You know what I mean? Or challenging ideas. That's really the problem that happens with the systems too. How does the young advocate new ideas or the next generation test things, right? How do they test? Even when we get the knowledge, right? We got the knowledge and shit, and then somebody, young brother, comes in and says, "Yo, I think it should be this," and like, nah, young guy, nah, come on, God, like you can't be. We'd be like, nah, you can't be saying that. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. You know what I mean? So Kareem said Fidel was honest and bold. He said he flushed the toilet of Cuba and he's with all the criminals. Oh man, don't say those bad things about my one of my favorite fictional characters, Tony Montana. You know, in Cuba, they tell you what to do, you know? But I don't want you to look at it like it's evil, though. There's a lot of stuff to study about Fidel and the entire Cuban reality that you could learn a lot from. It's one of the best case studies that we have of what we would want to do. You know what I mean? Absolutely, Quatis. It's definitely infinite. And Noam Chomsky's bibliography is certainly near infinity. Infinite Mind said our conservatism in their ideas is just as bad as over liberalism. It's an imbalance. Yeah, it really is an imbalance. And I think that, like, when we make a system of society, I sound like I'm just saying we just have to do this, but what we're really trying to do, which is very difficult to do clearly, is how can we incorporate the youth to challenge and question the society without just totally toppling it? Because you can't have the next generation say, look, I don't like the way this goes. We're going to try a whole new way. You can't do that. But how can they challenge it viably? You know what I mean? How do we, and it goes back to that rooted question. How do we test traditions? And to make sure that these traditions are based on true knowledge and that is leading to ever expanding understanding, as opposed to just traditions that, you know, they keep working. These traditions are working, so we're not going to do anything else. You know, this is really, you know, the issue. You know, right? But a lot of brothers, yeah, grew up on hip hop. You know, think that Tony was right though. You know, grew up, they tell you what to do. You know, but yeah, how do we test traditions without completely trying to break the tradition and reinvent the whole wheel? See, you test it in the laboratory, but then even the student would get frustrated because he feels like he's just in an exhibition game the whole time. You know, like, you guys got me an exhibition so that way we could fortify the tradition. You see, what happens though is that a lot of times the youth, they could be actually coming with ideas and they're testing them, but you have them in the laboratory only, and they are questioning, and now you're looking at the traditions that you have, and that leader, those elders, are fortifying their traditions by looking at the youth's recommendations as exercises in countering. Okay, that's what they would come up. Well, this is how we would counter, so we don't have to do that. And again, you cannot make a system of economy, a system of societal life, if you don't have the main principles of righteousness encoded in society. And that's why, Infinite Mind, you're right. If the people ain't shit, yeah, let's keep it real. If the people ain't shit, if they ain't one, if they're not united, if they don't have a common cause that is based on principle, then any economic system can be bastardized. You know what I mean? But there is no doubt in my mind, though. There's no doubt in my mind that the most destructive, and clearly with the most evidence of destruction and inhumanity, and its possibility for inhumanity, has been the system of capitalism. There's no way around it, though. They're the winners. They're the Hall of Famers. You know what I mean? Absolute Hall of Famers, though. You know, just think there. You know, once the white man is in existence, ideas and concepts of slavery exist among his societies, and then they're branching out into others in all forms. The worst of it, meaning a system of slavery and economics of slavery that becomes an institution to found a new nation, that is purely a capitalistic peak. You know what I mean? You could talk all you want, though, but there are no peaks like that. Even the worst of socialism and communism, if you look at how they're dealing with the people, they're distributing. But if you look at the core of the engine inside the worst communist systems, they're dealing with capitalism. They're buying and selling and fortifying their and protecting their capital for themselves. And in that respect, communism ends up being a unique outgrowth of capitalism. You could say it's basically ends up being at its worst. Forms of socialism, forms of capitalism, at their worst, just become exclusive capitalism, right? So that's why it's so destructive. Yeah, how do we renew history without being stuck in the old ways? Again, it can only be done though with the mentality. You know what I mean? It can only be done with the mentality. Like you said, Infinite. You said this is what the Tao taught me: keep things balanced without being an extremist. You know what I mean? You have to once we stop listening, we have stopped testing. And once you truly see that what you have is knowledge, you stop testing to see if that knowledge is true. And that's really the pitfall. You know what I mean? Knowledge said you take the best parts, lessons from the past, and learn how to best apply them to today's dynamics. That's a theory. That's a theory. That's what we're trying to work on. It's right. People tend to get stuck in the past because they're comfortable there. Well, that comfort is real, though. Let's not forget, though, the comfort is real. We don't want to dehumanize the concepts here either. Um, it's extremely easy. You know what I'm saying? And once you have a devil that is weak and wicked, meaning that he's too weak to have a system where he could continually make his own, then he has to dam up everything. Yeah. Yeah, good point. The Willie Lynch concept of the old versus young. Yeah, we always look at the concepts of the light versus dark, skinned, and the roles that they were given, but the old versus young is as powerful too. And of course, we always look with the Willie Lynch. We always think about the relationships between the overbearing and over nurturing mother and that black male child, because of the situations that have happened. Absolutely, knowledge. Yeah, I mean, comfort becomes a hindrance all the time. That's why in how does knowledge and wisdom exist? You know what I'm saying? Let's write this out so it becomes visible. Write this in. So how does knowledge and wisdom exist fluidly? The always born understanding. The answer is in the love hella right? Love hella right. At intention, the reality of what is known, and it's an intention because and what it is what is sought to be made greater, right, is the love. But the hell is that work? That work that ever must be ascribed, right? It has to be ascribed, right? What does ascribe means, right? Here, because we don't really, people use prescribed, but ascribed is the word here, right? Attribute something to a cause, right? Taking me a while like this, right? What is that work that ever must be ascribed by you, the builder, borning that understanding, right? Infinite Mind said you got Elon Musk really pushing for artificial intelligence to become dominance. Yeah, because the idea is to have intelligence, but not really the understanding, not really the ideas that challenge. And that's a big problem. You know what I mean? All right, come on. All right. Let me write down some notes of what we've been building about. It becomes so much easier for write this. All right. Okay. Because it's today's math. G1, let me know if it's okay to read your build on today's mathematics. If not, if you just want a personal answer, I could do that too. It's all how you feel comfortable. Again, no society would be right and exact if people don't have the possibilities and the gateway to always make a righteous decision, and they won't have the ability to make a righteous decision if they're in the positions of survival. And this is why I don't care at all for the capitalistic system, because the position of capitalism is that you actually have to sell your labor. So we keep talking about like we're not slaves, but if I say that, even as an entrepreneur, as someone self-employed, I have to say, this is what I can do, and I am selling my labor to you. If you say no, Sunez, you could make something. If I make this book, which I have, right? I have books, I have, all types of stuff I sell that I have created. I still have to say, listen, this is what I am trying to give to you, and hopefully this will allow me sustenance to continue to survive. So the people, because they are not expected to be righteous, then then the burden of doubt is on them. So they have to go out there and make a living to just survive. Whereas in the society, for say, and let's go as idealistic as we can. If the society is expected and they are fulfilling realities of righteousness, then they would be expected. You see me? They would be expected to actually be, uh, all in on working, on producing work of value, on helping to further society in first finding their gifts and working at the best thing that they can to help society, so they would all be afforded a way to live, even as they are in a quest to do things that necessarily aren't as vital or fulfilled just yet. You know what I mean? And how do you value those? You know what I mean? Like, for example, these are always the questions. Like, again, we talk about Fidel, but if you read his works, like, for example, his book, My Life, he talked about things like, how do you value the artist? Um, you don't need them to survive, and yet you do. You know what I mean? If you really want a true society, right? And for all of Infinite Mind's excessive, incredible creativity, though, on these lands of the United States of America, as an MC and as a writer and all types of things. Um, the Cubans in Cuba, their reign of creativity under Fidel's reality, um, have produced some of the most progressive works you'll see in the arts and music and film and all types of stuff. So that's also intriguing, right? Very intriguing. So these ideas were always furthered, you know what I mean? It just didn't come to fruition, Most of the faltering, you know, like for example, when Infinite Mind says rightfully that it was the people, most of the faltering of the Cuban economy was, and understandably, right? They were dealing with lots of stuff, the special period and the crumble, whatever, the blockade and all that. So it isn't easy, like many other people would have crumbled faster. But the one of the major things that people don't want to, that it falls with the people, is the bureaucracy itself. So the people, after a while, they weren't looking like this is our thing. To the individual things that we do are what is going to keep this going. You know what I'm saying? Once the people don't have that, a socialist enterprise that is surrounded by a world of intense capitalism, you know what I mean? It has no chance. It almost has no chance. True self. I'll listen to you say that self-employment, independent contract, entrepreneur part of the rebroadcast. Oh, yeah, that's peace. You know, yeah, and sometimes that's a lot of times that's because that's what I want, but that's also a lot of times it's not what I want. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes I just would like to have some regular income to always be coming. Even though I I clearly don't thrive as much in that type of environment, 9 to 5 environment. But I would say who does, right? I got TV said peace God due to the constant evolution of the universe. There's an assumption. Do you think actual facts should be revised? I wouldn't call it evolution. I would call it like it's all living. The universe is living. No, absolutely not. We could constantly do that. I did it with Firstborn Prince. I think some things have to, like the last one with the inches of the planet Earth, because that's just wrong. Like there was never a time that was correct. But sometimes it becomes moot. I think I wouldn't have a problem, like if young gods and earths, like in the future, they say, listen, Earth is not exactly 93 million miles away from the sun. It's I don't know. Let's say the number is big enough where it should be changed. Like it's not like 93 100,000 square miles. Like it's pretty big figure. It's changed a lot. I don't have a problem with it being changed because they're technical figures, much different than say the population figures, because the population figures are for a particular time, but these are technical stats. So I don't have too much of a problem with it. I think some more important than others, like the inches, because that's wrong. It had to be square inches, and the way it's calculated was incorrect too. I have that plus lesson if anybody is on actual facts and they have lessons from someone else and they're using the inches and not proper square inches. So they would go with revisement. You know what I mean? Um, so no, I don't. I really don't. I don't have a problem. I don't want to say something blasphemous though, but really actual facts in a lot of respects. Most of the actual facts are really just filler. You know what I'm saying? They're to show you that, look, there's a lot more things to study about the world, because if you learn actual things about the earth and about the universe and learn your cosmology, about the origins of the universe, those details of actual solar facts are hardly a beginning. So they're really a reminder that there is a lot to learn about this. You know what I'm saying? Right. 793 said, how Dark Him just say it, quote, if you learned and found the truth through these lessons, why change it? Right. Yeah, I definitely see that, because like technically those are old figures. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that we're not going to see it where like the distances with the planets or certain figures are going to be so wrong that they all have to be changed. I don't think so. Like I said, the last actual fact is absolute change to me because it's computed all wrong and it's not even an answer. It's multiplied with different units multiplying each other, inches times square inches, and all computed all wrong. It's just not even close to being correct. And others, when I build with Firstborn Prince, we changed other ones, and when you get lessons from me, you'll see it. But I don't really harp on it too much. You know what I'm saying? I think instead of trying to change all of the other actual facts, aside from that last one, right, because that's a definite exception, I would really care that when your journey into actual solar is you memorize those, and then it catapults you into really studying the earth, into really studying more of the earth sciences, more of the everything, the animals in nature, the way the earth moves, the environment, cosmology, the origins of the universe, right? How the planets work, the history of everything in the dealings of the study of the planet of the earth, like NASA and everything like that. You know what I mean? Like just the study of NASA will get you through a lot of the inventions and how they were first used for NASA and then become part of the populace. You know what I mean? Just a whole bunch of history like that. It's supposed to catapult you in learning other things as opposed to trying to make that document perfect. You know what I mean? Because that information is very general. You know what I mean? It's very general. You know what I mean? So it's not really like a necessity to really find all that out like that. You know what I mean? Kareem said people get locked up, and it's a form of capitalism. I think non-debatable. If this is such, can prison reform be real or fairy tales? I mean, there are people that got to be locked up. I mean, listen, come on. There's people that don't belong in society. You know what I mean? At the same time, though, the prison reform certainly is a thing. I mean, such a large populace locked up is really the results of this type of economy and this type of life that we're living and the oppression that we're living. So, of course, you know what I mean? You heard my ringtone. I couldn't answer it now. So hopefully I'll get a text or anything like that. Definitely can't answer it. Wasn't going to answer it now. But yeah, it's been my ringtone for years. You know what I mean? My favorite, probably my favorite Gangstar song. Definitely my favorite Gangstar video. Yeah, definitely my favorite Gangstar video. But you're right, Kareem. The prison system is definitely especially in America, definitely capitalist in all its reality. iGod TV said, "How do you feel about people saying the black man originated in the Americas?" I don't understand it. I don't get what that means. You know what I mean? I really don't get it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. I think it's also a way of diminishing the diaspora. I think it disrespects original people all over the globe. It's bad study. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know, yeah, I don't. I haven't been studying lately what people say about why they're coming with those claims. So, like, I don't know if there's particular things I got that you want me to build on as far as what they say. Because it sounds so outlandish, though. It's not even like a thing that I delve into too much. I think that foundational Black Americans and all that other kind of stuff, they're trying hard to pitch money to get reparations. It's like all of us, though, bear witness that the so-called African American ought to get reparations, though. I mean, it's fucking given, especially when they give reparations to other people. So it can be done. It ought to be done. But because we're still oppressed, it is much different than other people that get reparations. It's going to be done with a finality to it, and as a statement. So people forget that reparations should only be done if African Americans get something and it isn't given as some kind of final statement. But the way this country works, though, when people are actively being oppressed, that is exactly the only way that they will give it to you, if they even give it to you. You know, we talk about, oh, Jews got this, Jews got that. Jews were never oppressed by the people. If Jews get reparations from America, that's hardly reparations, really. You know what I mean? It's just basically reinvestment. You know what I mean? It's not reparations, it's reinvestment, because, you know, whatever wrongs America did supposedly in supporting Hitler and all of that in the very beginning, they had already paid back everything by helping to defeat, you know, the Third Reich. You know, so it's not really a thing that they have to they don't have to give anything back. You know what I mean? They're not owed anything. They don't need to give them anything. You know, they took them as refugees. They took them in. And so if Jews get reparations from, let's say, from America, that's a misnomer. There's nothing to give back. They didn't do anything. They've done enough. So it's really stupid. That money is just being called that for the narrative that they have, but it's really just reinvestment. You know, we're gonna invest in you, keep you going. You know what I mean? Help you out. And True Self, you know, my steez was mine for a while. That beat them, yeah, definitely. How many gangsters? It's like, come on, legends. I love Guru and Primo. I mean, if you get bored with hip hop and all you have to do is play that and you get back right into it. Knowledge said, I think true reform takes place in the mind. Absolutely. When enough people change and refine their ideas and views regarding prison and mass incarceration, then real reform will happen. And isn't that going to be the only way in pretty much all things? You know, in pretty much all things. No society is really going to be right and exact unless the social equality is sincere and based on principles of righteousness and the workings toward that, you know. And if that doesn't happen, then we have to just keep doing the best we can in what we have right here. So I'm not telling you guys to all be socialist or all be capitalist or be, you know, intense capitalist lovers. But, you know, this is the war we're in. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you got to fight with the weapons you got. You know. Kareem said those answers make you go and look for yourself, so that's a good thing. That third degree, his full name was Christopher Columbus. The place he could discover was North America. Perfect example. Okay. You see it happening in various degrees, slowly but surely, especially in California. Right. Interesting that, you know, California is one of the places where on the ballots they get to vote on a lot of you know, on a lot of things, you know. Whereas in New York, though, our ballot, you know, we get other, like for presidency, we had other candidates and stuff like that, which there were important things besides the president to vote for that were more important, really. but no referendums and stuff on issues and stuff. Which makes it disappointing. You know what I'm saying? Makes it disappointing. All right. Jeweler TV, peace. Born Reality, peace. All right. My clock is all messed up. My laptop needs a reboot. It is haywire right now. It's been a while since I harassed everybody about it, but how is people's physical training going? Are people training, working out, getting into some type of regimen? In the new year, there's going to be some things that I bring out, though, but it'll definitely be in those lines like that. Kareem said, true reform does take place in the mind, but on a mass scale, this will affect people who go to country clubs whose kids get the best of education. I mean, again, this is like the example of Fidel. What did he do? He kicked people out. Why do you think Miami exists? Because he kicked those people out. So redistribution means you have to take away from people too. It's not always easy. Julie TV said the only reason I voted this year was to make weed legal in Jersey. Well, salute you. I'm tired of government locking people up for a harmless plant. And you know what though? That's the best reason to do it. That's the best reason to do it. 793. You talking about working out 13, 14 or so what minutes? Nearly everything in this society, in this life that we are living, causes fatigue. All right, let's see. Now it said, yeah, I'm working out equality days a week. Okay. Sometimes power days. All right. Well, all right. Coming in and around FOI, we had boxing, karate, and camp. So I run those drills a few times a week. We got to stay indeed. That's peace. That's peace. Real peace. 7, 9, 30, 45 minutes to an hour or so in years. Good, good. Kareem said I go to Planet Fitness about 3 to 4 times a week in the mornings and do Islam there. I don't know what Islam is though when it comes physical, so let me know. Got me all confused here. True South, the gym just reclosed. I have plans to make makeshift boxing equipment soon. Pillows, mats, tape, string, tires. I began to love that place. Oh, I hear you. I hear you. I've always all my years I've never had a gym membership. You know, I've always trained on my own. You know what I mean? Even though the only times I've really worked out in the gyms has been other people or going on trips, and you work out in the hotel gyms and stuff. All right. Now, it said the other week I saw a young colored cat with Down syndrome complete the Iron Man contest. Saw that and was like, "There's no excuse." That sounds great. Definitely no excuse. Wise, you said burpees. I'm assuming you meant burpees and doing a deck of cards every other week, other day. Well, blurpy. Okay, okay. Some of the stuff I'm not always familiar with. Wise, you these other types of training. Quati said gyms are closed where I'm at, but I'm getting deep into gymnastics, handstands getting better, front lever, human flag coming along. Okay. I find that tendons have to be strengthened. Strong tendons reduces injury, it seems. Right, right. Well, the stronger you make those muscles, stronger you get that, right? All right. Yeah, wise you, I'm not really familiar with those kind of exercises and stuff. But that's good. That's good. A lot of times our creativity is fostered and amplified by the way that we train our physical bodies and stuff. You know what I mean? There's a big link in the two, and you want to exploit that, and manifest that. All right. 7 9. Okay. Sunez, is there ever too much working out, especially with calisthenics? You could overtrain any time. That's probably what happens to me most of the time. I very rarely take breaks. My training is very difficult. I give you an idea of today's training. 3 sets of bench press reps of dumbbell bench press, 85 pounds each dumbbell. That's 170 pounds. 3 sets to the max to fatigue. So at least for me, that's about 10 plus reps each time. Then after that, whether in 100 couplets or 200, I got to get 500 push-ups down, right? And that's all done. The original warm-up is just some bench press of 230 pounders to warm up, and then I go into the 85 pounders, 3 sets, 500 push-ups, 100 to 200. That's at least 15 minutes I take with that. Hopefully, right? To get distracted and stuff. After that, I move on to legs, about 500 squats. Um, and then resistance band reps, 500 resistance bands reps for in different positions for my hamstrings, right? Because if I don't balance them, the quad and the hamstring have problems. And then weighted calf lifts, all to failure. And then I moved to different sets with different weighted dumbbells, 30 pounds, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 25 pounds, 10 pounds, resistance bands, all for bicep, triceps, and deltoid work, targeting that. All different positions, all that. That takes about 25 minutes. When I do all that, this is just today. When I did all that, then I jog 1 mile to the fort here where I train, and I do 500-meter sprints uphill, up a very high hill. And then after that, I do about 10 minutes of kung fu training. Then I jog a mile back, and then I do 10 more minutes of working on the Wing Chun dummy, and that takes me about, if I do it right, 2 hours plus. It's 10. It's intense. I'm done by the end. You know what I mean? So what happens, knowledge, is that every muscle group is really destroyed. I try to evaluate whether I am injured or just fatigued. If I'm not performing well, then I know that I have fatigued a little too much. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is that then I try to adjust and take a day off or things like that. You know what I mean? But I'm not so great at taking a day off. You know what I mean? Like I was supposed to, I was gonna take a day off on, the so-called Thanksgiving Day, and I didn't. So because I always train outside, I train outside running and all that kind of stuff as well. I ended up just taking that day off on Monday when it rained intensely. But I usually don't. You know what I'm saying? I work out I work out 5 days a week. And when I get too fatigued, if I feel like the training is just leading to more injury, if I feel stress on the bones, if I feel weariness, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's easy to tell with the legs too, because I'm in a home and we have staircases here. So if I'm walking up those staircases too old manish, then I know I got to take a rest. You know what I'm saying? But I like to give it my all and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's been a blessing to learn all of these martial arts, and I just love doing it. You know what I mean? So, and plus, I like to eat a lot. I eat a lot. You know what I mean? I eat a lot. You know? But so certain exercises you definitely don't want to do them 2 days in a row. So like I said, I did bench press and the sprints. Those are never done 2 days in a row, because breakdown is key. Like you'll know breakdown because you start getting hurt, and you start getting pain as opposed to just soreness, and that's a problem. You know what I mean? And then you also can make mistakes with form, so that's key too. Like I said, 500 squats, 500 resistance band reps. Those aren't going to work well if you don't get full form with them. You actually could get hurt because you'll get half the form on the squat. You know what I mean? You'll be going down, you don't get full form. So you always want to make sure that you got your form right, And for me, I like to do a lot of different things. So I make sure that I don't spend a lot of time wasting around. And it happens because I'm a writer. I think of ideas, and sometimes I could stray away. So I try to write those ideas fast if it comes into my phone. But at the same time, I need to always have music, and I could get lost playing with my music. You know what I'm saying? That's my whole life. So I always, if I pick the music right and I stick with it, then Because it happens though. You know, you're working out and you're like, ah, this ain't the guy. You know what I mean? This ain't the shit that's gonna keep me going. You know what I mean? You got to keep switching. Or you're just curious about too much music. You know what I mean? But so all those things come into play. So the rest times I try to diminish. You know what I mean? But let me see. I missed some comments here. Okay, he Kareem. Its legs are the I, the self, right? Therefore, physical equal I, self. Very simple. Anything could flow out. So, got you. Okay, that's peace. That's peace. Just want to know what you meant. You know, push-ups, basic squats. These are all. Yeah. The only thing I don't do, I don't have a place to put my pull-up bar where I won't destroy everything. And that was something I used to like to do. You know what I'm saying? But a pull-up bars, man, it's so good. Um, And of course, I forgot to add the core work. Yeah, I do a lot of core work as well. You know, I find for me, I get the most core work out of using the ab belt, the ab wheel. You know what I mean? I have an ab belt. You know, those are fun to use, but the ab wheel, I get the most out of. For some reason, that works a lot with me. You know what I mean? Definitely works a lot. You know, but I try everything. I beast with it. Like I'll do crunches, holding weights. But I also will smash kettlebells into my stomach, you know, just for strength. You know what I mean? So I'll lie down and drop my 35 pound kettlebell on my stomach, you know what I mean? And just, you know, fool around with it like that, you know what I mean? But, you know, so I try a lot of different things, you know what I mean? But the ab wheel is mainly the ab workout, you know what I mean? Do that for about, um, you know, 2 minute sets. And again, that's when you know you overtrained and stuff like that. You know, when the muscle group is not really giving you like, because I'm training to do kung fu, by the end of those training sessions, if I can't do any kung fu or I'm doing it all wrong and it's not just fatigue, then I'll know the difference, you know. Okay, okay. That's peace, man. Yeah, I try to be a beast. I try to be beast. um 793 is trying to mind the joints, bones, tendons, getting it on a carpet or tube plus a towel. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Working carefully not to get either. I feel you on the full range of motion, like on the squats. Yet my fellow knees are feeling it's going. Yeah, yeah. You know, like whatever you're comfortable with, but that full range of motion stuff. You know what I mean? Definitely. Well, you know, you said always happens right before you get on. I don't know if you get pain on a treadmill, but the treadmill is something that wears on the knees automatically. You know what I mean? 793 said that scaffold fed style pull up bar over the door ones for me is as prefer the grip. Dark Kim, I'll be expecting all of you at the pull-up bar. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, Dark Kim, they talking a lot about the workout, right? Yeah, let's see if they get it in. You know what I'm saying? I've always felt that working out intensely though really aids the creativity, man. You know, I've always tried to write very closely after I train. Like once I get all the food in I want and all that, and a lot of times I always take like a little 10 to 20 minute, you know, post workout nap. Even when I used to, even when I work a 9 to 5, that workout post workout nap was usually on the train and shit. You know what I mean? But after that though, it's try to create something off that intensity. You know what I'm saying? It always works for me, especially writing. You know. But you know, even with nothing, the calisthenics you could definitely do is squats, push-ups, of all kinds, you know what I mean? And dips, you know what I'm saying? I do a lot of dips too, you know what I'm saying? Um, in my deltoid focused work, I do 400 dips, you know? Um, so it ends up being, yeah, so that really helps, you know? It just, A lot of times the exercise you want to I try to overload them and target them and overload. So like the dips I save when I'm doing deltoids, focusing on that. You know what I mean? Right? Yeah, I just care like whatever you can do yourself, you know what I mean? Um, what's funny is that push-ups can become very easy. So then you try to do them slower or remind yourself of the full range of motion, you know what I mean? Sometimes pull-ups, I get bored with pull-ups, you know what I'm saying? I get bored. I want to do different things. Yeah, muscle ups are crazy though. Like I never get to practice muscle ups. So I've done a muscle up and then it's like learning it all over again though. I look terrible. Look like I've never worked out in my life trying to do a muscle up, you know what I mean? Standing up. Yeah. There's all type of things you could do, you know what I'm saying? Also too, like if you're working out at home though, get resistance bands. You know what I'm saying? You could put them on the door, and you got shoulders of all. You could expand. You could do deltoids, all that kind of stuff with the resistance bands. You can step on them, and you could do your bicep. So in a small area, your calisthenics and your resistance band work. You could do a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then your physical, running and all that, like get out there, like get up early and run out there, you know what I mean? Pick a hill and do a couple of sprints, you know? Like I jog, even though that because I need for endurance. I jog that mile to and from where I train. It's stupid to just walk if I'm in the middle of working out, so I get that in, but the real jewel is that sprinting. You know what I mean? That's what's gonna really cut you up and make a machine out of you. You know what I mean? Um, it's always good to incorporate some sprints. And the days that I don't sprint, I do about 3 days of sprinting. The days I don't sprint, which would be the other 2 days, I'll go outside with the jump rope. You know what I mean? And jump roping is perfect too. And if some people still can't do that indoors because they don't have the roof or it's too small, but you could take that outside too. You know what I'm saying? So it's all type of training though, but you have to focus on what that training is for. You know what I mean? For me, all of that training has to be focused on something, not just your health though, but being us the gods, especially the gods. Like you got to know, put that into some physical training, how to defend yourself in some kind of way, some type of martial exercise. You know what I'm saying? And the gods, they're teaching boxing. A lot of the gods we know martial arts of some kind. You know what I mean? Give you a mentality though. You should know some basics that you can perform daily. You don't need a lot. You just need some basics because they can become repetitive. A person just knows a couple of boxing moves, right? And a couple of concepts of how to protect his body and move his feet. You spend a couple of minutes after every training session practicing those techniques for 5 to 10 minutes. Guaranteed, never, always, at least somewhat. It's going to give you the abilities to defend yourself and also be able to discern what is a threat better. You know what I mean? And that also helps you better to avoid the threats. You know what I mean? The better I've learned how to protect myself, the more I've been able to protect myself. Because getting out there and getting into fights though is you're not really protecting yourself very well. You got to go fight all the time though. You're not really protecting yourself well either, right? It's kind of double edged, right? All right. This thing, it's crazy. I was clicking crazy. Supplements for belly fat. Listen, I'll try everything. I even, I try a lot of stuff, like the frustration of training all these years, right? Is that like, and being vegan all these years and not eating so many bad things and, being so called, having a great diet, so called. Um, it's always frustrating. I don't have like I have very visible abs. You could see the blocks, you could see the strength, but I don't have like that sculpted, like typical abs, like, oh, look, six pack and shit like that. I don't have any of that shit like that, It's just flat and really strong, for the most part, with a couple of cuts. But the frustration of doing that is like you want like things to help you with stuff like that. I just try to keep the system clear and feel light. You know what I'm saying? Feel strong, feel heavier and light. So like the goal was to get heavier, let's say this year, but still be nimble enough to do what I was doing. It's a combination because you could be very light as a martial artist, but one of the things that is very real, like you see martial artists do incredible moves, but you could tell that if those moves hit you though, they're not really gonna do nothing. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the most beautiful kicks and maneuvers and stuff, they're just gonna, slap and not really, they're not gonna really pound, right? So the thing is, like, when you're dealing, it's always the overall diet, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? You could have that, if we talk about supplements and things like that, I don't really take any or really advise like any kind of supplements that I find working. Although I find like things that allow you to detox the body better. So your chlorophylls, tea always works. The green teas, different teas that act as diuretics, like the green teas, and a lot of times the energy teas, like the yerba mate and the guayusa, which I use as like to, you know, as like pre-workout teas. Those help you, purge. Um, but as far as like things specifically for belly fat, like you could take and stuff, I think it's all gimmicks. You know what I'm saying? They do say that, yeah. That's correct. I think this, right? Because everybody, all of us, though, train and we want a nice looking body. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to look whack. You know what I mean? And we're trying to draw up females that look right. So, and vice versa, right? The females too. But my main goal is that every part of my body, though, is part of a fighting machine. And I could continue to try to get more cuts and cut and cut, but then I won't have strength. So sometimes I don't give a shit about any of that after a while. And I said, listen, I look okay in a shirt. It's all, if I take off my shirt, I'm not embarrassed, then it's fine. Because that ab strength and those thicker muscle on the abs, like over the years, I found like I need that shit. I want that shit. You know what I mean? And sometimes you lose some of the you gain a little, you have to deal with extra body fat in order to get to that weight. You know what I'm saying? No matter what. You know what I mean? But if you were training to see your abs, like that's your goal, you know what I'm saying? You would cut until you start to see them, you know what I mean? And then you would try to build up, you know? But yeah, like I don't, me personally though, I just try to be efficient, you know what I'm saying? As a martial artist though, I don't care about anything else, you know what I'm saying? If I work out and I get bigger and stuff like that, I think that aesthetic will have to be pleasing enough, So I have a little bit extra muscles and some polo. That's what they're gonna get. You know what I'm saying? Some extra muscles and polo, If that's not working for the ladies, then they got to go elsewhere. You know what I'm saying? And I could also sing them a couple of Donny Hathaway tunes in my best voice, but it's what they're gonna get. You know what I'm saying? And if the abs aren't perfect, you know what I'm saying? They're flat. That's all I could do. But seriously, it could be a thing that you could obsess over it forever and stuff like that. And I have, because I was, like I said, all these, you young and you're trying to get it right and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I just go for the whole body approach. You know what I'm saying? Is it functional? You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you something though. The Whatever body I have now though could beat the shit out of the Sunez that had abs, so that had real cut abs before. That kid was a noodle. But yeah, this is, like, you got to find, what your goals are. If that's a goal that gets you going and really focuses you, then definitely do. You know what I'm saying? Oh, no, I ain't singing for the fellas though. Self-magnetic. That's for the ladies though. And they gotta really like me. You know what I'm saying? Because yeah, because that singing ain't too good. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I sing. I think I'm Donnie when I'm singing, but it doesn't come out that way. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, stretching is real key too. You know what I'm saying? Stretching is key too. I like to cut time, and stretching is always just to get me going. Sometimes stretch the night before you're going to train. If you train in the morning, you want to get into it, stretch before. You know what I mean? Or stretch throughout the day. I often are stretching and get my limbs, because I have to sit down and write a lot. So I, I have to get up, and if I get into a writing tear, really writing a lot, I'm gonna get up and be stiff. You know what I'm saying? So I got to stretch out a lot anyway. Oh, of course, 7 9 there. There's always core isolation, things you can do. Yeah, sure, definitely. You know what I'm saying? I didn't say that saying I don't have a traditional six pack, but I'm not. I'm very happy with my abs and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But most importantly, though, if I miss the block, I'm confident my abs will help me out. Is really the major point. You know what I mean? That's the goal, 7 9 right? To be greater than where you were. You know what I mean? That's funny. Yeah, like, again though, whatever, those are not bad goals. Those are great ideas and stuff like that. And you know, if you're working on your abs though, it's a great focus, because it is a great focus because it means that you're working on your diet. And if you're working on your diet though, and then you're seeing like, okay, this is where I am, this is what I can do, you know, it's always a plus. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely always a plus. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Absolutely. You know. But again, ultimately though, the stronger body is going to give you greater mentality, greater awareness of self, um, and it's going to help you avoid things. You know what I'm saying? You won't. A good fighter has good awareness. Not just of himself, but it extends to all things outside. You know, keep you safe. Keep you safe. All right. All right, but I'm glad I asked that question. I got a lot of great answers, though. You know what I'm saying? Getting this knowledge itself, you got to hit from all angles and stuff. And plus, too, because I asked you all to read so much, though, the stronger your body is, the more alert it is, the better you'll read. You know what I mean? If you're in good shape, you'll be able to know when you need rest. You'll be more alert while you're awake, and it just makes for better reading. You know what I mean? And a better reading experience. You know what I'm saying? Better reading experience. You know. Let's see here. All right. Let me know if there's any questions about anything. Um, I think what I want to do over these next couple of weeks, whether I am at a law school or not, these sessions here, the last four sessions of the year. Let's see. Let's count these. But yeah, a lot of the plus lessons I taught earlier in the year, I want to review them. I want to go over them, see where people are at with them. Um, Especially ones like the understanding one, because I love what you were doing with it, true self, and using them and applying concepts and stuff like that. But going through them in little bit more detail, reviewing them, see what's been useful for you and all that. Because really, and this might an idea about teaching. When I make these plus lessons, is because I'm thinking about what you all need. So, and it's based on listening to you. So if I make a plus lesson about the diet protocol, a living foods diet protocol, it's not just because these are things that I want you to do. I am, on some Fidel Castro dictating, right? Just to bring that full circle. I love dictating what I think is the right way of certain things that I do and want to share. But if people are asking me, then that becomes a topic that is useful for a plus lesson. You know what I mean? Certainly, because I started it here, has become one of the foundational plus lessons is that power bat, what I call build awareness square, that power in building the awareness of your square, and focusing on those 5 things: what your diet, the training you're doing, as we talked about now, the things you're reading, as in consuming, the things you're writing, how you're sharing, right? What you're writing, what you're saying, what are your ideas, and then in general, what are you sharing? How are you sharing? The nature of what you're sharing. You know what I mean? So if you look at it, you should always. It isn't a thing where you just thought, yeah, those are the things we got to do. You should always be going back and reassessing that. You should always be reassessing your diet, though. You know what I mean? Like, for example, we're talking about training, and then we're talking about abs. Now, what percentage of your diet is viably functional, where the diet is actually the proper fuel for what you intend to do, and then what percentage of it though is just like enjoyment? You know what I mean? Where it it's just for enjoyment. Like, even it still is good for you, but it's just enjoyment, not really necessary. A little bit of both, like let's say fruits and vegetables, or kind of like maybe not so necessary, but pretty much not bad. Like, I'm obsessed with dried mango slices. You know what I mean? I love that stuff. But not the ones that are oxidized and stuff, just the mango dried slice. No sugar added, nothing like that. I'm obsessed with that. So as opposed to, let's say, like cake or cookie or things like that, right? And we go into the end of the year, we know that, listen, we'll be with our families, though. Our families will be celebrating Christmas and things like that, right? And after a long year too, we deserve to enjoy ourselves and enjoy their company. So breaking bread with them, no. You've already said no to the pork and all these bad foods, so having a piece of cake or something like that, or getting a little drink on and stuff like that, if that's what you do, something's gonna happen. You know what I mean? But you should always be reassessing what percentage is it. How far are you going with it, though? What do you intend to do? So even have a barrier, a limit. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't be just, oh, I've been doing great, so I'm just gonna binge on this savagery, or anything like that. You know what I mean? You should always be judging how well you're working on something. You know what I mean? This is really, this is really key. You know what I mean? So that plus lesson is always going to be revisited again and again. You know what I mean? Or in my case here, opening it again and again, because I just opened it and I lost it. How am I losing this? Okay. But yeah, the training as well, like when you were saying, like, when I forgot who was asking me, asking here about when you get sore, when you should take a rest and things like that. You should be at certain times pushing yourself as far as you could go. I'll give you an example, right? When you're sprinting, you're supposed to be sprinting as hard as you can go. Sometimes there are adjustments. Like, it's funny because it's not the cold that bothers me most now when I do sprints. It's the mass amount of leaves, because going uphill, the leaves can take away all your footing. So it's like running on ice sometimes. Not as bad, but like, because I wouldn't be running on ice or sleet. But it's something to be aware of. So I can't go as hard as I can on some areas of that sprint as I could others. But when you're going full speed on the sprint, as you should, you're actually always becoming aware and focusing on your whole body being able to make it. You're focusing on those legs, focusing on the other parts having good form, but you're always gauging your body. So you should always have this gauge of your body where you feel everything. And you're always trying to discern, though, what is soreness and muscle building and what is, possible injuries. For example, like the hamstrings are something that, like, if you don't train them, any type of intense action is going to cause you to pull them. But sometimes the feeling of soreness in the hamstring is not muscle growth, but actually you're in danger of pulling it. You know what I'm saying? So these are things to be aware of, for example, with that. And you're not going to know unless you really test these things out, if you're not really training hard and pushing yourself to a certain level. You know what I mean? And also, that doesn't mean, losing safety. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't try to lift everything in the world to test your limits. You lift something that is heavy, you lift something super heavy, but then you test it by the amount of reps that you can do. You know what I mean? So the safety is there, and you always move up if you're trying to get more and more weight on it by small increments. But you're always judging. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, I regularly lift something that is very hard for me, but I could still get lots of reps in. So to me, that's the 85-pound dumbbell. But I used to lift 100-pound dumbbells, and I probably could if I tried to get it up and stuff. You know what I mean? But when I was doing that for like a whole year, benching 100 pounds, 200 pounds together, that was causing a lot of wear and tear on the joints. And after a while, I feel that. So these are the things that you become aware of. And then what's the usefulness in it, though? That wasn't becoming very useful to me. You know what I mean? And plus, it wasn't actually causing muscle growth. So I was lifting more, but it wasn't giving me muscle growth. You know what I'm saying? So that's what's interesting too. So you have to find your limit. What your max rep isn't necessarily the actual weight that gives you the most muscle building, because that weight has to be heavy, very heavy and challenging, but also able to be well controlled. And if you could control it really well and it's still having it the combination of being intensely heavy and well controlled, then you start to build really good muscle with that, you know. But if you don't have control of it and you're just pushing it, you'll get you get the rep, but it's not, it's not working. Then you just tear up your body. Hey, Kareem said, that's what I have to work on. Just finished eating some jerk chicken. It was my only meal for the day, which is a good thing, but I still need to improve on what I'm actually consuming and spending money on. Right. Maybe you pre-plan some stuff. Maybe you get some plant stuff before, like say this is what we're gonna eat here, this is what we're gonna eat there. Sometimes it's very difficult to eat proper if to your standards that you've made for yourself if you're doing it at the last minute. You know what I'm saying? I think all of us, though, very few people, I don't care what your diet standards are, you're not going to eat very well if you plan it at the last minute. You know what I'm saying? Or you're going to catch it outside or whatever. It's always going to be a substandard meal. You get lucky, and then if not, if it's always going to be good, what happens is that you end up spending a lot of money to get that quality meal if you're doing it without much planning. So you always try to plan your meals. You know what I'm saying? And yes, I'm vegan. I've been vegan since 1996. So when I teach my living foods protocol is basically how to transition to a vegan lifestyle, but also if you're not going to do that, to how to utilize this lifestyle for your own benefit. You know what I mean? So, you go as far as you're going to go. You know what I mean? You go as far as you're going to go, but I'm going to give you the best that I can share. You know what I mean? Quati said, this piece, the bad and just curriculum helpful the direction I provide because I have so many things I want to accomplish. It's easy to get overwhelmed wanting everything already to be complete and not having the patience to go through the process. Yeah, just be in the process. You know what I'm saying? Just be in the process. Don't worry about any other shit. You know what I mean? Just be in the process, and you break up the goals, right? Because it's not the end process of here. It's like, well, this week, what will you do this week? And then that's your goal. So that's the feeling of achievement you're going to have. You know what I mean? So sometimes we all need that feeling of achievement and satisfaction. So what you do is you say, listen, this week I'm going to do this and it'll get done. And you know what I mean? And that's what counts, That's excellent. Excellent. Since 89, yeah. 89, I was in junior high school. I was a straight savage with the diet. It was, I didn't really grow up in pork. That was a thing that was rarely bought because it just was smelly. But definitely processed foods that had pork in it. Definitely. You know what I'm saying? I agree with that, Hikarim. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. You know what I mean? What I meant was the excess, though. There is an excess where where you could be doing damage to your own limbs and stuff. You know what I mean? And you're just trying to push weight that can be pushed, but isn't really like getting that quality. You know? Right? Is understanding the best part of living mathematics? I mean, that would be like an argument with all the 9 numbers all fighting each other, right? Born could say, borning all this is the reality. God is like, who we are is the greatest of the. Right? You're starting a mathematics fight here. I see God. The reason I say that though is, as we come to a close here, the last 10 minutes, be very careful how you build. I see. I don't think I've ever seen you here. You couldn't prove that understanding is the best part of living mathematics. How is that so? So we're saying that mathematics is knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, power, equality, God, build, born. But understanding is the best part of it. Right? Understanding is the best part when we talk about the what? Children. As far as mathematics, I don't know if there's a best part. Because when we say, when we say to mathematics, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? There is no technical best part. They're all together. It is when we analyze the reality of how we're creating everything that we are breaking it apart. There is no real separation from understanding and living out the understanding as culture, or else nothing would exist. Just like if the culture didn't express power, then no equality would emerge, and we would not fulfill who we are continuously as what? As ourselves, God. And we wouldn't be able to change everything, build, destroy, and we wouldn't born anything. These numerals are all together, and that's the only reason I'm harping on that. You know what I'm saying? I want to take us out of cliches by challenging the way that we use them. You know what I'm saying? When we say understanding is the best part, we talk about children. You know what I'm saying? In that metaphor, in that reality. Quatis, today's math, as I see it, the relevance of an idea seen clearly. Insight into or deeper realization of a notion, be it one's idea of awareness, ways, actual realizations of. Indeed. That's peace, Quatis. That's peace. That's definitely peace. All right, so we're pretty much near the end of this. Unless anybody has a real question that you want me to answer. 2 things. Oh, you're welcome, LT. This is my email. So anyone that's new to this, if you want to actually engage in this curriculum other than watching me covertly without commenting and seeing what I'm doing quietly, you can email me for any of the books, curriculums, if there are any materials that you would like, or anything that you just want some help with something, right? Don't forget, okay, don't forget the column, that the latest column, and all the columns I write is the P.E.A.C.E course. For this P.E.A.C.E course, I usually put them up. I usually write them and throw them on Saturday. Something that sparked from, you know what I mean? No. I see God. You're not listening very well. So, okay, but you're hitting me with other cliches. Like you're typing the same thing. Like you're saying the same thing to me as if it'll hit into my head. Like, first off, I don't know who you are, right? So when you're talking to me, you're talking to somebody that's been teaching this for over 20 years, right? Who built with firstborns and built with people that had this from the Father. So if you're telling me what stuff is, and you're telling me basically what I'm saying, I'm not understanding what you're saying, as if I don't know what this is, then you got to tell me who you are. You know what I'm saying? If you don't understand what I'm saying, you could rewind it later when it's up. But when we say understanding is the best part of what living mathematics, and then you don't continue, then I can only assume that you're talking about the concept of mathematics. And the truth is that there really is no best part, but the perception of what you think is the best part. Because I could say that if understanding was the best part, I'd say that you didn't bring anything into this world yet. You just have it all in your head. Because understanding is still inside the mind. It hasn't become a culture that's gone out to the world yet. And again, the concept of understanding being the best part is the metaphor of the children, not the grading system of which degree in mathematics, supreme mathematics, is the best part. There is no such thing as a best degree in mathematics. So you have to describe what you're saying. And if I answer you this way, it's because it's almost like, see, you got to understand, right? To say that to me, like to repeat that to me like that, and to keep on, like you said best part, not only part, you still haven't proved it's the best part. The babies are the best part. They are represented by understanding. Understanding is to say then understanding is the best part of what limited mathematics is, that is not the same thing. Okay? So your sentence is wrong. Okay? Now, if you're saying understanding is the best part of living mathematics because that's the children, then I have completed your sentence, right? First of all, I see God, I don't even know who you are. So me answering this isn't even to illuminate you, it's to teach everyone who's watching this. You cannot hit me with cliches as if you're teaching me something. Those cliches aren't going to help you. You came into a classroom. It's like this is what you did, right? Let's put it into context. You came into my classroom and you uttered a cliche as if it's actually true and definitive, like it's definite. You know what I mean? Definite, true. Like, oh yeah, like word, like I got you. And then you could just walk on and by your way. But if you walked into my class doing that physically, though, you get the same thing that you were getting now. So now you're saying you mean to quote my degrees? That's the degree. First off, what is your name first? Because when you say quote my degrees, you don't even understand the context of what I'm saying. So what I'm explaining to you is going over your head because you're building on something that you don't understand yet. And you're showing it with every time that you write something in there. You know what I'm saying? So first off, what's your name that you're telling me what it is? Because you're here telling me what it is, right? Allah G, right? Now that's generic. I don't know who you are. I don't know how old you are. None of that, right? The babies are the best part. They are symbolic in the order of man, woman, child. So we say knowledge, wisdom, understanding. When you talk about all of mathematics, and I'm using my fingers to represent 1 through 9, and let's add cipher just to throw it in there, just to be funny with it, right? In the context of order, it'd be knowledge add on a cipher 10. Ain't none of those the best one. Ain't none of those the best one. Not one of those is the best one. The true and living God is the Almighty. So how is understanding better than that? There ain't no best one. It's a reality of how all creation is created by what? Who? The creator, God, the true and living black man, the original man. So how is any of this order separated? It is only separated when we what? Explain what has immaculately happened. It doesn't exist by itself. If it's the third day of the month as it is today, we are focusing on the principle of that. So now tomorrow, what do you say? By this concept that you're throwing at me, and that's why I'm saying be very wary of cliches. Tomorrow's the 4th. It'll be culture freedom. What do you say? Culture is the most sexy degree, right? What adjective do we give that? Because that's the best one. Is power the coolest degree, right? How does that go? Is it the coolest degree, right? 7, oh, that's the badass. That's the most badass degree. Straight badass. That's me, you know. Woo, badass. Be very careful of the cliches of things because you're merging concepts. You know what I mean? You said it's best part, not only part, as if that clarifies. You know what I'm saying? And let me tell you something, right? Wise you. A lot of brothers is lucky that they even get to experience what a hot seat would feel like. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not even close to that. You know what I'm saying? It's not even close to that. Because a lot of this hot seat, I'm explaining stuff, and it isn't for I see God, Allah G. It isn't for you. You're not ready by what you're answering. The answers you're writing show I don't know what level you on, but if I guessed, I'd probably be right. I'd probably be right. What you need to do is email me and tell me who you are and your history and what you don't know and what you would like to know. If there's anything that you even want to know from me. Because right now you just came in and said what you think is right. And then when I explained something to you, you said, nah, this is what's right. As if you know it by some authority that you can't even name. Because I know the songs that I make. I didn't say that shit. Right? Because no one, the hot seat, you'd have to tell me everything about you before you could come into a law school and then open a door and tell me what it is. And then act like you could just walk in and tell me what shit is. Be very careful of cliches. That we learn from elders and stuff are useful if you understand them as insights and cues to ideas. But if you mix them wrongly, it means you're not studying or haven't been taught very well. LT, you said the cipher is knowledge to born. Knowledge through born is how you see the cipher. I don't think I need to elaborate. I definitely don't mean you, LT. What are your degrees? What does that mean, though? I came in and quoted my degrees. What does that mean? See, this is also another thing, why that's not a hot seat. Because you think that somebody is going to walk into the cipher and then say, okay, say no more. I won't comment no more. So basically you could disappear without telling me. You came in and quoted today's degree. That shit is not your degree. Today's mathematics is understanding. That shit is not yours. It's not 793rds. It's not LTs. It's not anybody's on this list that I've seen here. It isn't even Dark Kim's. It isn't Firstborn Prince. It isn't even a lot of the fathers. It's what's right and exact. So it'd be correct, though, who you are, and you don't own it. Okay? Now, you said that's how you see it. Now you said how you see it. If you see understanding is the best degree, best is an opinion. And best can only be proven by showing how much it is better than the others. And that, I'm saying, cannot be proven. Because then you're saying that the order has what? A preference placement? So it's better than knowledge. It's better than having wisdom. It's better than living out the culture. It's better than having power through the culture, right? Because that's after culture. Right? What does that mean? What I'm saying is that you gave a dead understanding. You just gave an idea. That's a concept that sounds good, but it's basically merging the concept of the best part. Now, if you don't want to admit that, you ain't got to. I don't know you. In 73, you're right. Only in the intervals. Somebody open a class door and start trying to teach the teachers. It's if you want to learn, you go up in this chat and you copy down my email that I gave out. Okay? You didn't tell me what understanding is. You said understanding is the best degree. Okay? That's like me walking into a room and saying, listen, my daughters Luna and Alma are the best. That's how I see it. Not anybody can tell me otherwise. I didn't prove shit though. Okay? What am I admitting? How is understanding the best degree? Out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, how is understanding the best? Best means to be on top and to be better than. Okay? And then now you just fall on your ass now. Now it's non-cipher. Non is not in the alphabet. The letter N is not non. Okay? So whatever you have as alphabet, though, that's wrong too. The word best means something is better than. Why is understanding the best degree? You can't come into a cipher and say what you think your understanding of a degree is or how you see today's mathematics, and then it just be like an opinion piece. Like tomorrow, I see today's mathematics, this tomorrow, December 4th. Today's mathematics is December 4th, though. I see culture as cool. Culture is cool. Like hip hop, and it's cool. I appreciate that, LT. Again, you keep repeating the same sentence as if it'll lock in and not be an opinion. How is it the best degree? How? Because you're saying like, oh, but it is. That's how you build? It's the best degree. How is it the best degree? Because when you build it's the best degree, you'd have to build how it is better than the other degrees. You just said, I said understanding is the best degree of living mathematics. Am I reading wrong here? I just read that up here. And now you say, I didn't say it was the best degree. Then what is your understanding of today's math then? Because right now you're on some Trump shit. Like you just said something, it's right there, it says it, and then now you say you didn't say that. Okay, so now if you repeat the word living a lot, it makes sense. I said it was the best degree of living mathematics. What does that mean? What is the difference between supreme mathematics and living mathematics? Go ahead, tell me. Because these are new categorizations that you came with. The key word is living. Thank you. Thank you. The key word is living. Now explain. You're the one that put best in there, not me. I didn't say best. So, I see Julu TV, right? That's the same question I asked. So he's merging concepts, but doesn't want to admit it. You know what I mean? When is supreme? See, the thing is, when is supreme mathematics not living mathematics? Supreme mathematics is the living mathematics. Okay? There is not supreme mathematics, a concept, and then supreme mathematics, the living mathematics. They're not separate. Okay? The babies are the greatest. The babies are the understanding. Okay? You're not wrong in that, but your statement was wrong. Okay. And now you're giving me metaphors, right? You're giving me concepts, right? So the understanding is the best degree of living mathematics. Again, because it's the babies and it represents the earth, right? Fair enough. How do we deal with that? You see what I'm saying? How do we deal with that? Right? My problem I see is that you're giving me a lot of cliches. They're not wrong though, but they become very fruitless. Right? And you already caught me though. You already caught my eye when you said non-cipher, right? Because that's not in supreme alphabet. Okay, so you got some things wrong. Okay, again, I hope people saw some of the points that I mean, some of the hard ways of going at the brother. Again, if you want to build, that's what I said he should have said from the beginning, though, right? But people want to be a pain in the ass, though, right? Communication skills, develop them, be better with them. Okay, right? Check out the column, check out everything. Email me if you want to build, if you want to detail, though. Uh, non is not in supreme alphabet. Okay, non is not in supreme alphabet. Okay, n is now or end. Okay, and some people might have nation. All right, non is not in supreme alphabet. Okay, if you have it, you got it wrong. Okay. Not much I see, God. Okay. You were more, it was more like not, if you were in my classroom though, you'd be more, it'd be more disrespectful than a pain in the ass. Sometimes pains in the ass though, ask good questions though. Okay. You were being disrespectful by repeating the same shit like if I'm stupid. Okay. What you ought to do though is go into a classroom and validate who is teaching you and not throw in ideas. And if you say that you're not cliche, then how come everybody on this chat already predicted all of the things that you were saying? That is the exact definition of cliche as far as what you were saying. Now, with that said, I'm going to let everybody go. Again, you can contact me and we can build. And if you want to get to a better starting point, though, because you already have wrong supreme alphabets or anything else, you contact me. You build. Everybody from LT Station, Drooler TV, Infinite Mind, everybody on True Self, the other True Self, everybody, 793rd. Peace.